So I'm painting for the show, and I'm going to be showing some of my grandmother's works, painting for the Santa Fe show. And when I get ready for a show, I kind of go into like a little bit of like a dream state, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to see on the wall? And I just wait for like a vision. It's weird. It's like I can already see it, and then like I check and double check. It's like this I don't know what it is. It's like a vision. And if the vision keeps coming back over and over and over again, you know, then I say, okay, that's what I'm doing. So right now I'm doing a bouquet of flowers. It's gonna be white flowers with this Fibonacci spiral that I do in my work. And then I went to the art store, and I was like, I've worked with taupe before, but taupe is a very special color. There's different shades of taupe, and not everybody understands this color, and it's my favorite color. It's not gray. If you look at taupe, there's and you study it, there's, I don't know, probably like 100 different shades of taupe. And for instance, like this is a little bit of taupe, it's more ochre, and then this is more white, and then this is more gray, and this one right here has all the tones. So it's not olive, and people mistake it for olive. And taupe is this color that it's difficult to get, because you have to mix all of these colors to get the right shade of taupe. So the one that I like is black, ochre, and white. So then what it does is it gives it this shade that's kind of like gray, and kind of like olive, and kind of like taupe, or olive, or raw umber. But it's not any of those. And when I was talking to the guy at the art store. When I went to the Sargent show in like 98 in Washington, I was like, man, I'm on a mission. I said that's my other blog. I'm on a mission to figure out what Sargent was doing. And when I went there, I read all the things that he was, you know, all his stories, and all of the different, basically the stories of his life, and then the stories of what he was doing. Right now I'm working in acrylic. One, because as I mentioned before in my other blog, when I work in oil, it's tough, man. The oil, I have to wait 9 months, and I like to layer my work, and I also like these drips, and I can achieve that with oil. but I can't, it dries too slow. And then the ventilation, and then you have, sometimes you have like little gnats and stuff that land in the oil. So this taupe right here, this is the beginning of a bouquet of flowers. One of the reasons why I like the taupe is because I saw that Sargent used taupe a lot. And the way that he used the taupe was as a bottom baseline color. And Irene de Bojas used this almost cream colored beige. And then, of course, there's hundreds of artists, millions, thousands of artists that do different colors. And I've tried different color bases, and you always get a different aesthetic. You know, you could do bright red, maroon, I've done that too. But the taupe is really classical, elegant, and basically you could put taupe anywhere in any room with any decor and anything. It's like taupe is like it's like the Ralph Lauren black dress, you know. So I'm gonna use, I saw in my vision, this huge, this like 36 by 48 white floral bouquet, simple with taupe, simple, elegant gold and taupe. I'll show you the end result. Right now I'm just getting started, but this is going to be like the bow, because I usually put like a bow here. So I'm going to do the bow, and the bow is going to turn into the beginning of the Fibonacci, and then it's going to go here, and then I'm going to continue the Fibonacci in just a little bit of like the wave and also the number system. So as I get more dialed in, I won't make it like an exact spiral like I did in some of my other paintings. It's more of, it's going to be very like subtle. So the bow will start, and then this here will be a branch and a floral and a flower. So you don't put the actual Fibonacci in there, you just allude to it. So this is the beginning stages, and I'll show you more as I go. I like these drips. It's something that I do and I keep, because I keep the flaws. I always learned growing up that it's the actual flaws that are interesting. So I keep a lot of the flaws in my music too. Okay, so I'll show you this in a little bit. So this is the taupe that I'm working on. You can make it like a darker color, almost black. But there is no true black in nature. So my grandmother always said, make your own dark colors, don't use black. Because if you water down black over and over and over again, it's just, if it's manufactured, she said there's no black in nature. I'm like, Grandma, what about my punk days? So, yeah, black was not to be used. But, sometimes if you water down black enough, it'll just be blue and dark green and stuff like that. And so this is one of the reasons why it goes into taupe. So it's not a muddy color, actually. It's a neutral color, and it's not gray. There is gray taupes, and there are sienna taupes and stuff like that. But I like the neutral black, ochre, and white taupe. And then I don't like the taupe too dark or too light. I like it creamy. So one of the things that one of the things I learned growing up was when I went to go see Sargent and really gleaned what he was doing. One of the things that I learned was that, and I said this before in a past vlog, the one-hit wonder, the one-hit master, sorry. So the one-hit master was wet on wet, painting wet on wet. It creates a little bit of like, let me see if you could get up close here. See that stroke right there? It's picking up the wet underneath, but it's not fully integrating it, and it's not integrating it. And if I were to wait for this to dry and then do all the stuff on top, it doesn't pick up that wet on wet feeling. And so then, because I wanted that effect, I learned how to paint really fast because acrylics dry fast. So like if I didn't use this and this and this acrylic would basically dry in, you know, an hour. And then this right here is going to dry in minutes. It's challenging if you're not in the mood to paint, but what's challenging is even more is overworking something. I think every painter gets to a point where they know they've overworked something, and then it loses interest. Like a relationship, like a plant. If you overwater a plant, you know, it's not going to flourish. And if you underwater a plant, it's not going to flourish. And so that's what like the relationship I have with painting is on that level, pretty intense. Now, this is semi-dry, and I will go in there and just do, you know, get it done and put this basic thing, shape. But then I'll go back into it with the wet on wet just to create that. Those shadows and those highlights. And then I'll come back in with it. One of the things that Sargent did was Sargent did this look with oils, wet on wet with oils. Now, when you work with oils, it's more forgiving. Like you could literally do wet on wet for hours. So yeah, I learned how to paint fast and how to do the wet on wet look with acrylics. This right here, like what I was expressing, even though I did the flower on a more dry surface, I still went in and put the shade and the black, the contrast. So when we're dealing with a shade, like one tone monochrome, I'll just do this one tone monochrome painting, and then on top at the end I'll do all the tiny little details, you know. But you're starting to see that it has this floral aspect to it. And as it progresses, I'll get smaller and smaller with the wet on wet with the brushes. So right now I'm just using like a medium sized brush, and as I this white is a little bit dry, so I'll have to get another white because it's a little bit, it's not letting me do the full wet on wet process, because it should be like butter, like melted butter. And so that's one of the things that Sargent figured out with this taupe. Sometimes he would go into an olive green with it, but I like I said before, I like to keep it almost gray. Because when I did the lower, when I did this darker right here towards the under the flower, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So the bouquet is going to have a light side and a dark side, and which is what Rembrandt did. He had his light source coming from usually the left side of the canvas, but sometimes I do the light side coming from the right side, depending on like what's. So right now the left side will have more dark. And it's just a way to keep it abstract and contemporary, but still have some of the elements of a master. So basically, it's like doing a master drawing with see, like this white, I'll just bring over here. Let's keep this semi-dark. But I'm not going to do the entire canvas. I never like to finish everything. And that's because I want to keep it I want to keep it painterly, you know. So this is going to go gray unless I bring some more taupe in. And I don't like to go too many layers. I used to do a lot of different layers, but like I said, I don't like to overwork a painting. Because you can overwork something and you're like going over genius and then going over genius, and then it's like, why? You know, just keep it fresh. So I'll take some of this white and bring it up here to have a little bit of a light source coming in. You can have like up to 5 different coats, and then at the end I'll put a high gloss, gold, and then high gloss. But like this is really lovely to me, keeping this just painterly enough that I'll talk about the texture in a little while, but like for instance this, when I scraped off the paint, I'll probably keep some of this. I like that. As I go with the flowers and stuff, again, like I'll keep it painterly. And the taupe also, when I work with it, I like to have an even tone. So there's gonna be like parts where it's just so even, like this right here. Just to keep that, you want painterly brush strokes. You want to keep it painterly, but one thing I learned is that if you have something that's like all of it is one even tone, there's something very elegant about that. And calming. And that happens by making that tone even with the brush stroke. Small brush strokes until you can't see. So the juxtaposition between something that is really worked, like at the old masters, and then something that is very painterly, it starts to have a life of its own. So once I have that kind of very like masters look, and then a little bit, then I'll come in, keep the drips because I don't want to go over them. Like I don't want the whole thing to be perfect. Like I said, I like the flaws. So as I'm finishing up this side of the canvas, I want to just do like a light wash, almost like a watercolor, so that it doesn't go over the drips and the flaws that were I might keep some white, but for this one I'm just gonna keep, I don't want it to be too unfinished, so I'll keep a light wash, and then I might go on top of it with like a high gloss and some gold and stuff, just to have a little bit more of that color integrated. So another thing I like to do is throw some water splashes on top of that, and then let it sit a little bit, and then go in and dab it with a rag. Not too much, just enough to create that splash. So on top of this perfect texture that I did, just before it's dry, I can do something like that just to create that texture. But I want it to be subtle on this one, like I said. This is more about keeping it really elegant. So I'll go on top of it with a light brush. Just to like keep that look. So just, if this was oil, I could do this, you know, like in 1 hour. But because it's acrylic, I have to really go in there. And I like these kind of, these lines. It's like, I don't know, it's like a little bit of texture, but I'll keep it and see the white going on. I won't do it too much, just very random while it's still wet. Okay, so as you can see, I've kept it very loose and just the beginning stages, and then I've got a little bit of the Fibonacci, which I'll kind of flesh out in a little bit. I'm gonna bring the bow a little lower, and then I just started a little bit of this blue-green olive, and part of it is I'm not going to go with like an explosion of color on this one. I'm gonna keep it really I'm going to keep it very neutral. And I like these. I use these watercolors. And you can get different watercolor. So because it's acrylic and I like to keep it soft tones, I'll just I'll use this as a way for me to kind of get away from just the neutrality, but not overbearing. So just a little bit of color adds to the floral, and I'll go in and flesh it out even more. So this is a little bit of what it looks like. I'm still keeping the drips, but for this specific painting, I wanted it's for the Art Santa Fe, and I usually would just do it fast and keep those drips, which I was going to, but I ended up covering it a little bit. And the reason is I have a vision of this one-toned floral. It's a little bit like the linen that I use in some of my paintings. And the linen, white and black on linen, is also really elegant. So it's kind of like the linen, but it's taupe. And again, it's one of my favorite colors. So I put these florals, and then I did these bigger ones, and as I go, I'm gonna do a lot of tiny little details and stuff. Right now, I'm just getting the shape. So you have these big ones, big flowers, and then these small flowers. And then I did a little bit of the Fibonacci bow. It's very subtle, but it's there. The Fibonacci starts here and moves into this. So the golden mean is really important in my work. Not all the paintings have the golden mean, but my grandmother taught me that's what makes like a really good, a really successful painting. If you see, most of them have that golden mean. And because I'm still having that vision of a complete, it's not like satin complete, like perfect complete. I don't, like I said before, I don't follow that perfection model. With my work. But I'm going to use this to basically outline some of the leaves, right? So even though it's not painted, around there, even though the leaf isn't painted, right? I can still do the outline of it. And when you're dealing with light, shade, like I said in some of my other vlogs, the mind completes it for you. And so if you give the viewer like the perfect leaf, the perfect whatever, then people lose interest. The mind loses interest. It's not perfect. No, sorry, because it is perfect. And life is not perfect. So this is not an intricate leaf, but body and the mind starts to make sense of it. Just like when when you're a child and you see like something in the sky that looks, like anthropomorphizing. And then you're like, oh, that looks exactly like a human eye or something. And it's in the sky. And like, the brain likes to finish things. It likes to interact. So if you completely do something that is finished with a painting, then the viewer can't experience it the way like the cloud is. The reason why the person is looking at that cloud and going, God, that looks just like an eye, that anthropomorphizing, that's what makes it engaging. And you take that engagement away, and you're left with the lack of experience. Consciousness is witnessing itself. And in like some old texts, in the Vedic texts and stuff, they say that basically God created the world to experience itself just because it was bliss. So the enjoyment. So the painting is a type of enjoyment, because it's concentrating all of your efforts into one finished piece. And the act, just like meditation, yoga, the Western culture, it's like, oh, it's therapy. My grandma hated that. She was not a big therapy buff. Grandma was a purist. She was interested in the pure life, in pure experience, and she wasn't misled by nature and by that desire to just tap into the truth. The truth is simple and it's elegant. It's man's mind that perverts it and tries to twist it into something that it isn't. And so when we're painting, you tap into that stream line, baseline connection. And it's bliss. I mean, it's bliss in its most fundamental form. Partially because finding work that you enjoy is part of the universe enjoying itself. And if these ancient sadhus and these ancient religions are correct, then if you do stuff that you're not following your bliss and you're not following your purpose, you get in a lot of trouble. That's why I put the Fibonacci in my work, because it's a reminder that just beneath, Deepak Chopra talks about this too, just beneath the chaos is extreme order, extreme harmony. So you see a little bit now, it's fleshing out the darkness is popping out these flowers. It doesn't take a lot. But these details are important. This is not wet on wet, the way that I was described. It's a little more finished now. But it's quick and painterly. Like I said before, if it was oil, I could do wet on wet for you, months, weeks. But right now, I'm just putting all the shades just to have some depth. When you build that confidence, when you paint over and over and over and over again, what ends up happening, something that Sargent talked about, and his teacher taught him, that innate confidence is part of the mastery. And the mastery comes with the discipline. And it also comes with the concentration, but in the end, that 10,000 hour rule really does work. Like a pilot has to do, a certain amount of hours, or like just in medical school, you have to do a certain amount of hours with acupuncture before you can work with the public. And so that is what painting is too. But by the time I was like 9, I'd already had 10,000 hours for and some of my best work I did when I was 9 years old, 9, 10, 11. And I'm a surrealist. I have a lot of weird surrealist work that I'm going to be putting out in the next couple years. Surrealism is, grooming in industries happens, and it happens in the art world too. I mean, you go to college, and that's a type of grooming. And sometimes the grooming can be good, sometimes it can be bad. Because I had been taught to paint by my grandmother, I wasn't fully groomable. So I chose, my grandma said, I came to her and I said, there's all these styles, and I've been painting for so long, and I don't know what to do. And Grandma was a very rooted, grounded person. She said, honey, go for the best. Who's the best in your mind, in your eye? And I said, Sergeant. And then she looked at me, she says, well, if you're choosing Sergeant as your go-to guy, then you're in a good company. And Grandma would never, she didn't lead me astray ever. Everything she said basically was true and came true. And so that's why she's kind of like my true north. And so even though I worked for all the industry and I was groomed by different looks, for a long time I did like a kind of a Gorg look. Then I did a pop version, Renaissance pop version. And all this stuff was pretty strategic on my part. One, to break into the decor so that I could just like do my stuff. And then I went to the shows and I did stuff on my own, but I was still staying in that classical art pop decor world. But now I'm going to be going into like the full Sergeant mode, classical, and then I'll bring out some of my surreal stuff, because doing this stuff under my own publishing company is like gold. I really worked hard for that, and as a woman, it was not easy, I'll tell you that. As everybody wanted me to paint these pretty blonde Aryan things, girls, and I'm like, that's just okay. If you say so. But I just played the game so that I could do my own thing. And I love setting trends. It's something that happened with the Leposena and with these iconic images, like the little black dress. This very, like Sargent, kind of classically trained look that never goes out of style. And even if AI can do all that stuff, and you know, eventually people will get bored of the AI stuff. It's just inevitable. And AI can't replace real painting or real humans, real intelligence. AI is a tool that you program to help you. That's all it is. That's how people are confused because they think that AI is more intelligent than they are. But it's not. So if you see here, the eye is moving to finish this. It's just, if you get up really close, it's just dots. But as you move outside of it, that's when it gets. And the Fibonacci is interesting because it's number system, you know, when you're dealing with the 1 and the 1 and the 3 and the 5 and the, so the spacing is important because that's what causes that harmony. Then the brain picks it up. It just picks it up. So this is in the works. I'm going to throw some gold highlights in here and then a high gloss, and then continue to do the details because this is for the show, a showpiece. So I'm going to make it a little more, spend some more work, spend some more time on it. But again, how to do something that is not overworked. It's really important. And part of that is honoring what you already did. Not going over everything. So something like this, for me, is starting to take shape, take form. So I just did some blues, light blues, and just like little bits of red, maybe yellow, like nothing too over the top. I've done like really colorful stuff, but again, for the show, I want it to be elegant, just a simple bouquet. And I'll probably put some gold leaf here on the bow. I don't like to use the gold leaf a lot because there's problems with it being toxic and staying in the lungs, not coming out. So when I do it, I put, you know, the proper mask on, and then sometimes I just do the gel medium with the gold on there, so it does the little pieces don't fly around everywhere. So I brought this to a darker outline, And then I'm still going to flesh out the flowers, but you can kind of get a feeling of what I'm doing and how I paint. And then again, just not necessarily doing colors, because acrylics dry so fast, that wet on wet appearance is difficult to get. Whereas if the oils, you can do it, but the problem with the oils, it gets too thick too fast. So basically, it's about timing. Not not doubting your brush stroke. Like this right here, I think is really lovely. If I were to go in there and just flesh it out and paint over it, you would lose some of that, impression. And it's slightly impressionistic. And Sargent went from impressionism, realism and impressionism. He was like the one that actually bridged those two worlds. And so he was just positioned to make that shift from realism to impressionism. And this is not full impressionism because it's too realistic. Impressionism it's kind of a different vibe, but I do have some impressionist work. And like, for instance, that flower is impressionistic. Those little red globs are impressionistic. But the thing that keeps it realistic is that it's a bouquet, and that it's moving towards realism. And then the color palette is really important, and then not overworking it. So because this is a showpiece, it's a little bit overworked. Not necessarily overworked, just finished. But still, I'm going to do some more little flowers and stuff up here, and then put some blue up there. Okay, that is vlog of the day.